This Leon, as you can see, has its paint destroyed from sun exposure and has not been properly cleaned on the outside for a long time. Just by looking at the state of the rims, that brake pad already looks like rust, the headlights are extremely burnt, and there are areas on the hood where there is no varnish left. But not everything bad is on the outside. The interior of the car is also in quite poor condition and needs an extreme cleaning, as this car hasn't seen a cloth inside for a long time. We have a lot of accumulated dust and a bunch of objects everywhere. In this car, a lot of smoking has taken place, and it shows. It has also been used for work, and we have a lot of dirt in all the areas that are frequently touched. When a car doesn't get cleaned from time to time, it really shows. The seats aren't very dirty, but a good cleaning will be appreciated, especially because of the smell of tobacco. And the carpet, in general, needs a thorough wash to remove all the dirt and grime it has. The steering wheel also shows quite a bit of common wear for these cars, and we will fix that as well. And the entire ceiling area, which is the most affected by smoking inside the car, as all the pillars and the ceiling turn black, will also get a good touch up, and we will leave it super clean. And in the engine part, we have already made a small repair, which is changing the alternator that was broken, and now it just needs a good cleaning so that it's a pleasure to open the hood and see the engine, because right now, to be honest, it's a bit sad. As always, the first step is to start with the interior, and the first thing is to dismantle the upholstery. Each car is a world of its own. To remove the seats, in the Leon for example, we have two nuts in the center of the guide with a 30mm wrench that we will need to remove. Once we have removed those nuts, in the side guide we have some plastic covers that we will also need to remove. These are held in place by a small screw that, when removed, will allow us to unclip them and take them out of the car. Once we have everything disassembled, we will need to sit down and push the seat back a bit forcefully so that it unclips and is free from the guide. Now we would have access to remove the airbag's cables, but at this point we would need to disconnect the battery to avoid triggering the airbag light or having issues. However, in this case I am not going to disconnect it, and I will cause the airbag fault to be recorded so I can show you later how it would be cleared with the diagnosis. There are cars where when you reconnect the airbags and turn the ignition back on, the light goes off, but in the Leon for example it does not. If we cause the malfunction, it will always remain until we erase it. Once we have everything disconnected, we can remove the seats from the car and clear this entire area here. To remove the rear seats, it's super simple because you just need to fold it forward and take off the hinge-like part to be able to pull it out. For the backrest, we also just need to fold it down, and there is a small tab that with a little pressure will release the piece from there, allowing us to take it out. Then we can also remove the backrest part of the car. We already have the entire interior completely cleared out and we can start working. But before touching the interior, the first thing we do, as always, is clean the seats, since we are going to clean them with pressure water and they will take several days to dry. The sooner we clean them, the sooner they will start to dry. To clean them, we will use the multi-purpose degreaser from my own brand. And to prepare it, we put a little in a spray bottle at a concentration of 10 to 20% depending on how dirty the seats are, and the rest water. We will need to sprinkle this mixture over all the seats so that the dirt loosens and is easier to remove with pressure water. Many of you say that cleaning it this way only makes the dirt stay in the sponge, and I tell you that I haven't cleaned with the upholstery, and I have cleaned with high pressure water, and many times I have cleaned seats with high pressure water that later I might have to strip to fix some part and the sponge is not dirty. I tell you that when it is cleaned with high pressure water, if it is rinsed well, the water comes out clean and the sponge stays clean, so we have no problem. The only problem is that, for example, we currently have low temperatures, and with low temperatures it takes longer to dry. I do not recommend leaving them for many humid days because then they might smell a bit damp, so I recommend doing it in good weather. Once we have let the degreaser work and see that all the dirt is coming out of the fabric of the seats, we start using high pressure water, making sure to cover all areas well so that nothing remains dirty. If we miss any part with the high pressure water, it will show a stain when it dries, and then we will have to clean that part by hand, which will be a hassle. So what we need to do is give it a good wash with pressure water to ensure that the seat is super clean, and if we need to repeat the process, we will do it. But before the seats dry, as I mentioned before, it is not advisable to wash the seats when we have low temperatures, as they will take many days to dry. So, to speed up the process, what I do is take the upholstery and vacuum out as much water as I can to dry it as quickly as possible, and then I leave them for a day to drain any remaining water. After that, I take them outside to dry in the sun, and they come out looking like new. Once we have cleaned the seats, we can move on to the interior of the car, which as you can see has much more work than the seats, but quite a bit more, although on the channel we have cleaned cars that are much dirtier. The first thing we are going to do is remove all the little bits of trash before vacuuming and getting rid of all the garbage. For those of you asking about these coins, well, obviously I'm going to buy myself a coffee with them. No joke, I keep everything in a box and then just give it to the client and they can do whatever they want with it. Once I had a case of a car that was brought to me for washing, and underneath the mat there was $400 hidden. It seems that they had put it there to keep it safe and forgot to take it out before bringing the car in for cleaning. And there it was under the star. The truth is that when I lifted the mat and saw that cash there, I quickly called the client and told him, hey, come get this money, because if someone else sees it and decides to pocket it, the blame will be on me. So when you take the car to be washed, do the person at the car wash a favor and clear everything out. While we clean the trash from this car, I'm going to share an interesting fact about myself. With the orange Sheltie Lion that I currently have, I have now owned 6 Lion marks. Throughout the video, I will show you each one to see which you like the most. The first Stallion I had was a 1600 gasoline model, and it was the one that lasted the longest and to which I did the most modifications. And when I finally had the car just the way I wanted, I put it up for sale. I sold it in a matter of 2 weeks to buy another Stallion that I will show you later. As you can see, the knob is quite worn and we will fix this later as well. Inside the car there was also the battery box, which we will also install once we have the engine clean. Now that we have removed all the trash, we also take out the mat, leaving the interior completely clear, and we also remove the juice that has to be there but for drinking, because I think it has been there for 2 months. To clean the mat, we apply a bit of degreaser and clean it with high pressure water. We will clean them now so that when we say to put it in the car, we also have it dry like the seats, although the mats are quite a bit thinner and will dry faster. So, we apply degreaser, then we thoroughly rinse them with high pressure water to remove all the mud, dirt and anything else they might have, and we hang them up to drain well. That's it. Now we let them dry for when we go to install them in the car. To start cleaning the interior, the first thing we are going to do is vacuum to remove all the heavy dirt, any loose dirt that comes off easily, and everything that is more loose without complicating ourselves too much. As you already know, no matter how powerful the vacuum cleaner is, it will never leave the carpet 100% clean, and we will have to use other things. So, in this vacuuming, we do it quickly to remove all the big stuff, and that's it, without complications. We continue talking about my Lions. As I mentioned, the first Lion I had was a 1600 gasoline model that I ended up selling to buy another Lion, and the Lion I bought was a 2005 Cupra R with a 225 horsepower engine. I believe the change was worth it. This car lasted me just over a year, and I can tell you that I sold it to buy another San Leon in 3 days, which I will show you later. As you have seen, I vacuumed the mat from the trunk a bit to remove the bulk and then took it out of the car to avoid spreading all the dirt it had, because what it had was bird feed, not to throw it inside the trunk. So we gave it a twist and took it out of the trunk, and then we cleaned it outside calmly. Use a vacuum cleaner to give the carpet a deeper clean so that later, when using the blower, it doesn't stir up too much dust. With the brush and the drill, we are going to brush it really well to remove a bit more of the surface dirt and give it a deeper vacuuming. Even if we have brushed it with the drill brush, when we start vacuuming, we remove what comes out easily. We are not going to keep insisting with the vacuum cleaner because what is trapped will still not come out. So just like we did the first pass, we do the second one. As you can see, this pass is a bit more noticeable. It's clear that it's been vacuumed a little better, but it still has a lot of dirt trapped in the carpet, and in the end, we have to pull out the tornado. This is the best thing the Chinese have invented, my favorite tool. First, we are going to give it a quick pass without using degreaser to remove a bit more of what is dry in order to take off the most superficial layer. Once we vacuum and remove everything we have loosened up while dry, we will then clean it with a wet method. When we do the wet pass, we will really go deep and remove everything that the mat has trapped, and we will vacuum it until it is super clean, as that will be the final pass. You always ask me why I clean the carpet first and not start with the ceiling, and it's because when I clean with the tornado, it stirs up so much dust that cleaning the ceiling and the plastics and all the sides will just get them dirty again with dirt, dust and mud because the tornado stirs up a lot of mess. So the first thing is to thoroughly remove everything from the mat, and then if we step on the mat or if things fall on it again, it doesn't matter because it's something superficial that we can easily remove with a simple vacuuming. So when we have the car finished 100%, we will give the mat a quick vacuum to remove whatever we have dirtied by stepping on it and all that, and I can tell you that with a simple vacuuming, whatever we stain, no matter how much we step on it, we will remove it super easily. As you can see, this last wet pass really makes a huge difference, and the mat looks super clean. You can really notice the color tone, while the other one still has dirt, and this part here is already spotless. For the trunk area, since it doesn't have much dirt, we use the tornado to give it a wet pass, then we turn off the tap and dry it well to give it a dry pass and remove any remaining moisture. With this, the trunk ends up more than clean. We also take the opportunity to clean this area where the seat belts are and all these gaps that have quite a bit of dirt. With the same vacuum, we remove some of the dirt and dust, and that's it. We would have the mat completely clean. Now we are going to clean the roof area. For this, we remove the lamps and place them facing upwards to see everything. And here on the roof, we have a problem, which is that it is about to come off, and cleaning this is going to trigger a bomb that could fall off at any moment. But well, I don't want to see it dirty. I want to get rid of the tobacco smell, and since it's going to come off sooner or later, we're going to give it a quick pass with degreaser and clean it. I know you would love to see how we upholster the roof, but we're going to leave this for the Orange Lion because the Orange Lion hadn't realized that the roof is upholstered with a super cheap orange synthetic leather. And in that car, I do want to do a complete upholstery job because I want to make the entire roof black, paint all the plastics, and then do more things in the upholstery, since in that car, I want to create unique features that are not seen on any channel. As you can see, in all the places where hands are placed on this car, they are quite dirty, and when we apply the degreaser, the water immediately turns brown. To clean the roof section, as I mentioned, it is about to come off, so we apply a little degreaser without soaking it too much, and with the cloth, we remove all the dirt from the roof. As you can see, it is quite noticeable, but what would really be best is to strip the upholstery, reupholster it again, and then the roof would be perfect. But well, I haven't discussed anything about upholstering the roof with my colleague, so the only work we are going to do is a thorough cleaning, and that's it. Since we are cleaning the entire roof area, we are also cleaning the pillars, which as you can see are quite black because when smoking inside the car, the smoke sticks everywhere, especially in the higher parts. Even though it is a quick cleaning that we are doing, the part we are working on is noticeably improving, and we are removing a lot of dirt, especially from the sun visors, which get really dirty just from being touched with hands. And this is sometimes pleasurable for me when these light colored parts are so stained and you apply the degreaser, and as you wipe them with the cloth, you can really see how the dirt comes off. I love it. I enjoy these parts a lot. Once we have the roof clean, we move the lamps back up and start cleaning parts of the car. I like to clean the door panels before getting into the dashboard. Since they have a slight texture, they really collect a lot of dirt, especially since this car is very worn out from the sun. These parts here are really worn out, so to clean them well, we apply a bit of degreaser, let it sit for a few minutes, and then with a brush, we start cleaning it really well to scrub all that textured area and remove the dirt. Here, I have put a little bit of masking tape to make a small cut so you can see the difference between the clean part and the dirty part to show you the cut and how the color tone changes. Later, we will apply the dashboard conditioner and restore the color to all these areas that are very faded. To clean the window seals, which were also quite filthy in this car, we apply the degreaser, give it a little scrub with a brush if we see that the dirt is very embedded, and then we dry it with a clean microfiber cloth, and that's it. The upholstery of the car doors, as you can see, is also coming off, and this is very common in these cars. The doors tend to come off much earlier than the roof. Well, the four doors are coming off, so just apply a little degreaser without overdoing it, scrub a bit with the brush where there are more stains, and then wipe it clean with a cloth. To clean the parts of the button panels, we apply a bit of degreaser and use a brush to remove the gaps that we cannot reach with the cloth and by hand, and then we blow on it to remove any excess moisture and dust that may be embedded inside. The rest of the panel is done the same way. We apply degreaser, brush it, and that's it. For the speaker grill, there's nothing else to do but blow it out with air, so we apply degreaser, let it sit for a bit, and then clean the entire grill thoroughly with air pressure, leaving it perfect. With this, we would have the panel clean. The four doors of the car are made of exactly the same material, so they are cleaned in exactly the same way. Apply degreaser, use a brush to remove the dirt, and with a cloth, wipe away all the dirt we have removed. In areas that we cannot access with the cloth, use compressed air to blow everything out and remove all the grime. Although it may seem that the doors are not very dirty, I'm going to show you the cloth as it is after cleaning the driver's door and the rear door. Just two doors, so you can see the amount of dirt that can accumulate. And since the panel is black, it doesn't show as much, but thinking about all the smoke that stuck to the ceiling from smoking and all that, it sticks to the doors just the same. It's just that with the color it doesn't show. When I start editing the video, I try to shorten it as much as possible so that it isn't too long. So I think that, as you have seen, since I cleaned one door, showing you the before and after of the other is more than enough. Now that we have the doors clean, we can move on to cleaning the interior more. As I mentioned before, we need to repair the steering wheel, so before removing it from the car, we are going to clean it, as it will be more convenient to clean it here. Then we can take it off and repair the leather, and we also need to remove the gear knob, which also needs fixing because the leather is a bit worn, and we will see what cloth we can use. On steering wheels that are upholstered, the area of the seam where hands covered in grease and sweat touch is where all the dirt accumulates. So to remove this, just apply a degreaser and brush it well to get rid of all that dirt. With a clean cloth, we wipe away everything we've loosened, and that's it. And then we blow it out to clean all the gaps in the seams and the grooves on the steering wheel, because if you don't brush it well and use air, all those lines will get dirty and trapped inside. This way, the steering wheel will be clean, and we can remove it from the car to repair it. To remove the steering wheel from the Herschel Leon, we need to turn it to one side, and there is a small hole at the back where we will insert a flat screwdriver and apply a little leverage to release one side of the clip. Then, we will turn it to the other side, insert the screwdriver into the other hole, and leverage it in another spot, and it will pop out. We will just need to remove the airbag connector and loosen the central screw of the steering wheel, and then we will be able to take off the ring. Just like with the seat, to remove the airbag from the steering wheel, you would need to disconnect the battery. In my case, it doesn't matter, because I will later show you how to remove the fault using diagnostics. I will demonstrate how to access the diagnostics in the car. The handbrake part, as you can see, has quite a thick layer of dirt from touching it with hands. Just apply a little degreaser so you can see the effect it has and how it removes the dirt. And yes, the star product of the channel is degreaser. I think we all agree on that. Let's see. The degreaser works great, and unlike many products on the market, my products have to work for me first because I use them in my videos, and just as you see in the videos how they work, there's no trick or gimmick. I don't force anyone to buy anything, but you know that YouTubers promote many brands, so why not promote my own brand? We clean the gear knob just like we did with the steering wheel while it's in place, as it will take us less effort, and this way we can clean the entire part of the console. As you can see, the entire part that touches the hands gets that brown dirt stuck to it, which when we apply the degreaser seems to have a somewhat disgusting color when we have areas with so much grime. If we need to do a second pass, we can do it, and that way we ensure that everything is 100% clean. And as always, when we remove all the dirt with the cloth, we take the blower and blow out everything that might be stuck in all the crevices. To remove the gear knob, we need to lift the fabric part. And here we have a small clip, which is like a clamp, that we need to open a bit with the screwdriver, and that will allow us to take out the gear knob. Next, we need to remove a plastic ring that holds the fabric with the gear knob, and then we have both pieces completely loose to be able to repair the gear knob. In the part where the gear numbering is located and we remove it, there is a small screw, and we can take off the aging piece, which as you can see is missing a piece, and then the part of the gear knob, the leather has two small tears from wear. To fix this, the best approach would be to make some new fabric pieces and reupholster it, but we are going to provide a solution that anyone can do at home since not everyone has access to a sewing machine. On the broken parts, we are going to apply some glue. I use super glue with an activator so that it dries quickly. Once the glue is dry, we will sand that area with a bit of sandpaper, making a small block until we level it out so that the breaks are not noticeable. Then with a sanding sponge, we will sand the entire surface of the leather completely. Once the gear knob is well sanded and clean, we will take the adhesion promoter for painting plastic and apply a good coat all over so that the paint we apply on top will adhere properly. When the primer has dried, we will take plastic texture paint and apply a coat evenly to everything. We are going to let this paint dry and then we will sand it down because we are going to use it as if it were putty to cover the imperfections on the surface or the wear that was slightly noticeable. And once we have sanded this paint, we will apply a few more smooth coats to cover everything completely, and that's it. With this we would have the gear knob repaired. When we removed the trim, if you noticed, a small piece fell off because it was broken. To glue it back on with the same adhesive we used to fix the leather, we attach the piece, apply the activator, and that's it. It should stay in place. And now, as you can see, the edge is a little broken since it is missing some pieces. For this piece, we are going to put a bit of masking tape to create a base, and we will apply the same glue to give it some body. And now this glue that we have applied here, what we are going to do is sand it down to shape it so that the piece is completely repaired, allowing us to paint it without it being noticeable that any piece is missing. When we have the piece sanded, we apply a bit of promoter so that the paint we are going to put on sticks well, and that's it. Then we spray it with a gray color. I had a wheel gray that was a little lighter than the one the car had, but it should work. And now we reassemble the knob, putting the fabric back in its place, and that's it. We have the knob ready to be mounted back in the car. For the steering wheel, it's something similar to the knob. The first thing we are going to do is sand it all down really well so that the paint we apply will adhere. Once we have sanded the steering wheel, we will cover the parts that we do not want to paint. We need to apply the promoter to everything we are going to paint so that the paint adheres properly. Once the promoter dries, we take the texture spray and apply a couple of light coats until everything is well covered, and then we let it dry. By the way, the first time I tried this was with the first Leon Cupra I bought, which came with a worn steering wheel, and one night I thought I would give it a try, and it turned out well. And since then, well, whenever I have the opportunity to quickly touch up a car, I do it. Once we have the knob and the steering wheel repaired, we continue cleaning the interior of the car. And well, while I continue cleaning the interior of the car, let's keep talking about the Leons I've had. When I sold the first Cupra, they took it away on a Sunday, and on Tuesday I bought another car, which was another yellow Leon Cupra R. You know what they used to say, that there was no mountain without a cricket and no child without a yellow Leon. Well, I bought a yellow Cupra, and I actually didn't mind seeing the Leon Cupra in yellow. If it were an FR or a normal Leon, I would take it differently, but since it's a Cupra, I liked it. It's a shame I didn't have the channel before, because the truth is that I've made many transformations to all these cars after buying them, super dirty and all that. But I don't know, I didn't have a channel, I didn't record it, and that's it. And well, you've missed out on a ton of cars I had, a ton of things I've done in the workshop. For this yellow Leon Cupra, for example, we did a stage 2 upgrade. I installed an exhaust system, we refreshed the entire interior, upholstered the steering wheel, polished the car completely, painted the rim, and did a ton of other things. Here in the area where the foot rests, there were several footprints with gum that had stuck to the plastic. I don't recommend scraping it off, as it would scratch the plastic. Instead, it's best to use a brush that is a bit stronger but won't damage the plastic. Since I had these Delta Thieves, I applied some degreaser and scrubbed it hard until the gum wore off, and that was it. After that, I wiped it with a cloth and it looks like new. All these plastics here that get stepped on are the ones that usually suffer the most and collect the most mud and dirt, so this involves brushing them really well to remove everything that might be embedded, and they end up looking like new. Then when we see the polish, all these plastics look as if they have never been stepped on. Way back before we messed it all up, there were too many things going on that I can't keep track of them all. The only dirt we have left to clean from the interior is that of the seat belts, which, as you can see, everything that is touched with hands in this car has a lot of grime. Another problem is that since it is so dirty, look, the seat belt doesn't retract. And this is because of the grease it picks up from the hands and all that. The belt becomes a little stiffer and has a harder time retracting. So the best thing to do is to remove the dirt, and if the spring of the belt is in good condition, it will retract properly again. Those of you who follow the channel know that I like to clean the seat belts by soaking them in water with a bit of degreaser and letting it work well to remove all the dirt. When we have left the belt in the dirty water for a good while and see that the color of the water has changed, we take it out of the dirty water, put in clean water again, and rinse it to remove any remaining dirty water that may be left on the belt. Then we take a dry and clean microfiber cloth and finish drying the seat belt well. If there is any dirt left, we remove it with the cloth, and if the seatbelt spring is working properly, it should retract again, and that's it, because it is no longer dirty and is not as stiff. The same thing happens with the passenger seat belt, so we repeat the process. We soak the belt in water with degreaser, let it loosen the dirt well, clean it with a microfiber cloth, and this should solve the issue and allow us to retract it again. Now we have the interior completely clean and we can reassemble the steering wheel. The steering wheel needs to be fitted. It has a small notch to mark the center. We connect the airbag, fit it back into place, which requires a bit of pressure because it has small clips with springs, and the knob only fits in one position, so we can't turn it or anything. It has to go in its place. And the small clamp that we opened with the screwdriver is tightened with pliers, and that's it. Now, as you have seen, we have a lot of plastic areas that are really worn out because this car has been exposed to a lot of sun, and we are going to restore that area. To do this, we are going to use my dashboard polish with one applicator. We put a little bit of polish on the applicator, and what we need to do is spread it over the plastics of this product. You should use a small amount. There's no need to use a lot, just spread it well, and that's it. You need to start at one end of the car and apply it completely, then let it evaporate a little, and afterwards use a fiber cloth to remove the excess product. This product can be used on any car since the shine it leaves is a natural shine, it does not contain silicone, and if we want to apply it to leather seats, we can do that as well. The dashboard area is where it is most burned, and that's normal because it's the flattest part that gets the most sun, and when we apply the product, that's where it shows the most. When the car undergoes a couple of thorough cleanings and the product is applied a couple of times, in the end, the plastic takes on color and will appreciate it more, making it noticeable that it is more nourished. Once we have applied the polish to all the plastics in the car, we will take a clean microfiber cloth and start to spread the product evenly and remove the excess, leaving a natural shine and a smoother finish. While we finish removing the shine, I'm going to show you my Shark Leon, a FAR from 2004 that I bought cheaply to give it a touch-up and sell it. It lasted me a month. With the polish applied, the interior is now completely clean, and we just need to reassemble everything we have disassembled. We can also vacuum the car again to remove anything we have stepped on. As you can see, it's a superficial pass that removes everything quite quickly, and the carpet looks like new again. To clean the trunk mat, we will keep it quite simple, as it only has a little bit of dirt stuck on it and no stains. So we take the blower, and just like we clean the carpet, we do the same with the mat. We give it a good pass, and the good thing is that since we don't have it inside the car, we don't have to vacuum it. We blow the dirt out strongly and that's it. To add a detail to the interior, we will apply heat to the plastics of the seat belts, particularly the red part that is quite worn. I don't know if you've seen this, but the plastics of bumpers or stadium seats, I've watched a lot of videos of stadium seats where they use a heat gun on the worn plastic and it returns to its original color. It's exactly the same process. Just apply a little heat and restore the plastics to the same shade. The seat belts are exactly the same, and since it doesn't take long, we give them a little heat, and that way we take care of this detail. Now that we have the seats completely dry and the car completely clean, we reassemble it. The rear seats are very simple to install, while the front ones are a bit more complicated because we have to fit the wheel into the guide and snap it back in place, but I assure you it's super easy. We also connect the airbags, and since we're at it, we put in the mats that we have dried. The tray only has a bit of surface dirt and some dust, so we take the Tornador, give it a wet pass, and then a dry pass to remove the moisture, and that's it. We install it in the car. And so we have the interior of the car completely finished, and now we need to remove the airbag fault, which, as you saw at the beginning of the video, caused the light to turn on by disconnecting the airbag connector and turning on the ignition without removing the battery. To fix the breakdown, we are going to use my new diagnostic tool from the brand Top Down, the Phoenix Light 2, which is a semi-professional tool that I am amazed by because it has a ton of functions, a lot of connectors, it works for any car, and it has so many features that I haven't even had time to discover them all. But everything I have seen and tried has truly impressed me a lot. The OBD connector works via Bluetooth, and all we have to do is plug in the adapter for our car's connector, and that's it. And then the Diagnosis is like a tablet but with protections to have it in the workshop so it can withstand some impact and nothing happens to it. And another really cool thing is that it has a camera, so we can take photos while we are disassembling anything from the car and save them in a folder where all the car files are kept. To connect it in the car, as I said, it's as easy as putting on the adapter for the connector we need and then running the Diagnosis, selecting the car brand, and it will automatically create a protocol to access all the systems that the car has. It will retrieve the modules available, for example, airbag modules, ABS, central locking, engine. In other words, it will automatically search for all the modules so that you can then access them and perform readings. For example, in the Airbus system, we click and the 2 faults we caused in the Airbus appear, and then one really cool feature is that we can click on related search, which will input the fault code into Google and look up information about that error code. Since these are faults that we have caused ourselves and we know they will not come back, we directly choose to delete them. And well, in the dashboard, even if it doesn't disappear, it shows us that we have no errors. And what we need to do is turn off the ignition again and turn it back on. Thus, the car restarts as if it were the control unit again and checks that there are no errors, then turns off the light. Another thing we can do, for example, is to access the comfort module of the car and activate extras such as automatic door opening, which will lock the doors when you are walking and exceed 20 kph, or for instance when you press the button to open and close the car with the remote, it will beep. We can also perform tests. For example, here I am accessing the dashboard module and conducting a needle test to check that the needles are functioning properly and all the dashboard indicators such as engine faults, oil, pressure loss, temperature, reserves, everything. With a diagnosis of this type, amazing things can be done. You can even see turbo pressure, make engine sensors act, use and a ton of things. But well, you will see throughout the channel what we can do with them. Use and. Once the interior is completely clean, we move the car to the exterior washing area, and the first thing we are going to do is wash the engine, since washing the engine splashes dirty water onto the outside, and if we have the body clean, we will dirty it again. So we start with the engine. As you can see, the engine part is quite dirty, but well, this here doesn't surprise me much since people don't usually clean the engine, and it's very common for an engine to be this dirty. To properly clean the entire area of the rocker cover and the EGR valve, we remove the engine cover, which is a quick process, and we also need to disconnect the terminal from the battery to ensure that the engine is not powered and we don't cause any issues. To clean the grease from the engine, we apply the degreaser at a concentration of about 50% since this engine is quite dirty. As with everything, we spray the degreaser well so that it covers all the dirty parts of the engine, and we let it sit to effectively break down the grease and allow everything to come off easily. As I mentioned, we let the degreaser sit to start seeing the dirt. And now we come to the controversial moment that you criticize me the most on the channel for cleaning the engine with high pressure water. And many of you tell me that if I use distilled water, I can't use distilled water with the Karcher because I have no way to use distilled water. And many of you then say that with steam, and I tell you that steam, when it creates condensation, is ultimately moisture, which is conductive. I have never had a problem cleaning with high pressure water, maybe with some gasoline car that might have failed because I got the distributor or some spark plug wire wet or something, but it dried out and I haven't had any problems, no electrical failures, no blown fuses or anything. As you can see, I spray water on everything without fear. Well, we're not going to use a very fine jet that could damage a wire or something, but I can tell you that you can spray water without any problem. At least I haven't had any issues, and if I ever do, I will share it so that you won't have to deal with it. Once we have cleaned the entire engine, if any part remains dirty, we repeat the process in that area and that's it. Here in the EGR, since it usually has carbon buildup and all that tends to stain quite a bit, and 2009 had quite a layer, it took a little more effort to remove the dirt. But that's okay, we just add a bit more degreaser, go over it again with the Karcher, and that's it, we have the engine clean. Now it's important that every time I do a cleaning like this with high pressure water and leave the entire engine wet, what I do is before connecting the battery, I take the nozzle and blow everything out well to remove any water that may be trapped in certain areas of the engine. Now that everything is clean, we put the engine cover back on, and to give it a top-notch wash and make the engine look even cleaner, we will use the rubber and tire dressing to apply to the plastics, restoring their color and making them look newer, leaving the engine spotless. I believe that the cleanliness is quite noticeable, and for the time it takes, which I tell you can be done in 1 hour, it is definitely worth seeing the engine this clean. Now we move on to the part of the bodywork that is the most unfortunate, as the car is severely sun damaged and is very neglected. We will start by doing a pre-wash on the wheels with the same degreaser mixture that we used on the engine. We apply degreaser all over the wheels, the tire and the wheel arches, and with a brush we begin to remove all the dirt. This wheel was actually quite dirty, and that's why I scrubbed it. There are some wheels that are only superficially dirty, and just with the degreaser and high pressure water, they come clean, but not with these wheels. I can tell you that these have gone many kilometers without seeing a hose. I think that just seeing how to clean the wheel is more than enough, so we won't extend the video too much. And that's it, we move on to the bodywork, and with the 10% degreaser, we apply it to all the bugs and in the areas of the tires that are more worn and have more dirt stuck to them, so that everything comes off. While the degreaser takes effect, we prepare the pre-wash shampoo, which is the pin shampoo. We put some in the Karcher container and the rest in water, then we lather the entire car well and let it sit for a few minutes to loosen all the dirt from the body and perform the pre-wash. For those of you who can't have a pressure washer or don't have space to keep one to clean your car and go to the gas station, you also have these foam sprayers that you can use with pink shampoo. They are available on my website, and as it's a moment, I'm going to show you how it works. We put a little pink shampoo in the container and fill the rest with water up to the mark it has. We don't need to fill it all the way because we have to manually apply pressure, and if we fill it to the top, pressure won't build up and it won't work. Once we have it prepared, we pump it a bit to build up pressure, and then we go directly to the car and sprinkle it on. One thing is that since it is manual, when the pressure goes down, we have to keep recharging it. It's not like the automatic ones where you just pull a trigger and spray as much foam as you want. Here you have to keep pumping it. On the website, I also have the model that is superior to this one, which comes with an inflation valve to add pressure with a compressor, but I haven't tried that one. There are also battery operated ones that I imagine work well, but I haven't tested those either. Let's see if I get the chance to try one and see how well they work and if they are worth it. Once we have sprayed the entire car with foam, we let it sit for a few minutes and then take pressurized water to do the pre-wash on the entire body. Well folks, the second to last Leon I had before the orange one was a Shark Leon FR from 2003, which is black just like this one, but it was so wrecked both in terms of the engine and the interior that it wasn't worth fixing, and it went straight to pieces for scrapping. Now that the pre-wash is done, we prepare the shampoo, bodywork and wax, and we are going to give it a hand wash to remove as much dirt as possible. We will try to polish it a bit to see if we can restore its shine. To do this, we prepare 2 containers with water, one for rinsing and the other for preparing the shampoo. In one of them, we add the shampoo and use the sprayer to apply some pressure to create foam and ensure that the soap mixes well with the water. We need to wet the mitt in the shampoo and start rubbing the bodywork to remove dirt. And each time we finish a section, we dip the mitt in clean water and start rinsing it to remove the dirt. And 2001, and not drag it across the rest of the car to avoid scratching it. Although this car is in terrible condition and is already scratched, no matter how much we want to scratch it more, we won't be able to. Once we have scrubbed the entire body, we can also clean the wheels and wheel arches to remove any dirt that may remain after the pre-wash. Way back before we blew it all. I know that things seem bad, but they could be much worse. There's always someone else. Rinsing the mitt while we are soaping the car may seem like a silly thing, but just look at the clean water we had, where we rinsed it and how it ended up. To dry the car, we use a plastic squeegee to remove as much water as possible and then a microfiber towel. We finish drying any remaining water on the body. The truth is that it's a shame to take the water off because it looks shiny, and as soon as the water is removed, you can see how damaged the paint is. Either way, I don't wanna be a part of it. Can I just get some space? We also opened the doors and used a clean cloth to wipe all the frames, as water had gotten in and they were a bit dirty. We wiped them down and left them clean. And so we have the car's body completely clean, and as you can see, it hasn't changed. It's just as damaged as it was when it was dirty. We are going to try to see if we can give the entire paint a little polish, at least to remove some of the dullness it has, so that it is at least a bit shinier. And we are also going to polish the headlights, which are very burned as well, and this also affects the front of the car a lot. For the headlights, we put a bit of masking tape to protect them from the sander and to avoid damaging the paint more than it already is, and we start sanding with 320 grit dry to remove all the varnish left on the headlight and clean it completely. Then, using the same sandpaper without changing it, we wet the headlight and use the same grit of sandpaper but for wet sanding. After the 320 grit, we will move on to 400, then 600, 800 and 1200, all done with a machine, and the last grits of 1500 and 1000 will be done by hand. Ideally, it would be best to remove the car's headlights, sand them down properly and lacquer them because that would be the most durable option. However, we would need to remove the bumper and prepare the cabin, and in this case, we are not going to do that. But, well, you will see it on another car. When we have the headlight completely sanded, we dry it, take the polisher, put a little bit of cutting polish on it and give the headlight a pass. Here, care must be taken not to let the polisher get too hot on the plate, as the headlight is made of plastic and we could burn it, which would lead to a big problem because we would have to replace the headlight. So we can give it all the revolutions we want, but we can't stay stuck in the same place, as in the end the headlight is not what it should be. As you can see, the difference is quite noticeable, and that's with just a quick polish, since we can't do much more while it's mounted on the car. And when we have both headlights done, the truth is that the front of the car changes quite a bit, and yellow headlights really make a difference to a car. Now it's time for the bodywork. There are some parts that are more burned than others, and this depends on the habit of parking the car. If you have a habit of parking in the same spot and it gets sun, there is one part that burns more. This happens with the headlights of cars. To compare whether it is worth polishing the car, we are going to do this fender completely. The first thing we do is apply cutting polish to clean as much of the paint as we can. And what we have to do is, as we apply the polish to a small area, we clean it and then move to a different zone. I recommend that if you have no experience, you should work on small areas and not go too fast with the polisher to avoid burning the paint. Once we have applied the cutting polish, we will use a medium polish to see if it improves the situation, because there are some parts of the fender that are visibly burned, and no matter how much polish we apply, we cannot do anything about it. So the only thing we can do is give the paint a little polish, restore some of the black tone, and that's it. Nothing else can be done. This car needs to be completely repainted. As you can see, where we have polished shines a lot, but the stains that are underneath the varnish cannot be removed no matter how much polish we apply. I say this because I have repeated the process several times and have not managed to get them to go away. The part of the hood and the roof are the worst, as being flat, they get hit directly by the sun and burn more. Here something super strange happens, and that is when I use the polisher, it shines a lot, but still has some underlying stains that no matter how much I try to polish them, they don't go away, and it's because they are from the varnish. The varnish has acted like a magnifying glass due to the sun exposure and has burned the paint in that area, but well, we give it a little shine as I said, and we recover some of the tone in all the parts of the car, at least making it look shiny at first glance. Areas such as the passenger side fender show less sun damage, and all it has are a few small scratches. Just by giving it a quick pass with the cutting polish, look at the shine we can achieve. These areas, as I mentioned, the part of the roof of the hood are the ones in the worst condition. And here, well, as I said, a little polishing to bring out some color and make it shine a bit, and it will also remove that strong dullness, and that's it. And on the side, for example, this one here on the passenger side, you can see that it is where the sun hits the least, and as I said, just by using the polisher a little, look at what can be achieved. The part of the handles that is super scratched from being scratched with a nail, here, it would be best to remove the handle and polish it well, but since this car isn't worth it, we'll just apply a bit of polish by hand and use a sponge I have for the drill to give it a quick pass, to remove that scratch a little, and that's it. We've improved that area a bit. The windows, as you can see, are also very marked and scratched, and this usually happens from not cleaning the car often enough, allowing dust to get between the seal and the glass, which causes scratches. We can fix this with a little bit of polish, and there's no need for any special polish since it's something a bit superficial. So we polish it exactly like the car, and that's it. Another thing that the car has in a lot of places is bird droppings that haven't been removed in time. Since the car is black and gets hot in the summer, when the birds drop their waste, it becomes acidic, and look at what it does to the paint. This cannot be fixed. The car needs to be completely repainted. The driver's side is noticeably the one that has been most affected by the sun because of the tone it has, but it is not as worn as the part of the roof of the hood. And just by polishing it a little, look at what we can achieve.
Trying to stay strong and fake
To make the polishing we have done on the car last a little longer, we are going to use carnauba wax to provide extra protection. We take the applicator, put a little wax on it, and spread it over the section of the bodywork that we want to treat. Then, with a clean and dry microfiber cloth, we remove the excess wax. As Mr. Miyagi used to say, apply wax, polish wax. Once we have waxed the bodywork, all that is left is to apply rubber shine to the tires. We will apply it directly in its pure form onto the tire using a sponge, and for the wheel arches we will dilute it to 10% and apply it directly. We will give a light dusting to all the interiors to keep them black.
Never really noticed what you want.
And as a final part of everything, when cleaning the windows, which I always leave for last, we are going to use the all-purpose screen and glass cleaner. What we do is sprinkle it directly on the glass and clean it with paper. Many of you use cloths, but I do not recommend them at all because the windows pick up a lot of dirt, and with the cloth, all we do is spread the dirt from one side to the other. What I use is paper. I use it on one side when I am drying the window, then I turn it to the other side, throw the paper away and grab a new piece. I know it's wasting paper, but it's the only way to get the windows completely clean because, as you can see in this car that smokes, look at how the paper is. Let's see the before and after, and I'll tell you what we have.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in debt. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action. I feel this pain, you already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. I feel this pain.